Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Leif Taylor of Two Shy Guys. As always, I'm first, waiting on J Kev to come in second. Let's see. What's going on, Larry? How you doing, bro? What's up, Mike? What's up, Mo? How you guys doing tonight? Waiting on my dude, J Kev. What's going on, Saab? Shit, not much, bro. What's up, Miss Althea? How are you? They play some Foo Snicks in the background. Okay, there's J Kev. I don't see you on the ad in though. Let's see if we can get you in here, J Kev. What's up, Jezreel? How you been? Cheryl, what's going on? See if we can get J Kev up in this piece. What's up, Paul? Shoot, not much, man. What's up, Jay?
What's up, sports fans? How y'all doing tonight? You man, Jay Kev. I heard you, Leif Taylor. You
What's up,
always, man. I
Antonio?
come in second because I want to make sure that you get in nice and good, ease in there, get the crowd ready for the hype man, the real hype man of the show. So your man Jay Kev here is gonna get started. Gonna talk about. I don't know what we're gonna talk about really. I know what our discussion was centered around mental health, but I don't
We'll
know where
see.
we're going to go today, but
What's up, Miss
we're going to
Constance?
keep it, we're going to have a nice, short, sweet conversation centered around mental health, mental strength, and just maintaining, doing whatever necessary to make sure that you stay strong and resilient in whatever avenue you deem to travel in your journeys of life, man. My screen, I don't know what's going on over here. We're gonna fix it because this is
Yeah,
how we roll.
you just keep it rolling, man. Keep it rolling. Let's dive
Let's
into it,
keep it
brother.
rolling.
Let's dive into it.
Oh my goodness. So how's things been going with you today?
So, yeah, this is what we do with Jay Carey. He gets
This
online
is
and
how we
then
do,
he
man. This is real life. This is real life, man. This is live stream. We come to you live. We don't do that
Yeah, so
pre-recorded
things are
stuff.
going well for me today, man. Speaking of mental health, I've been really into this whole mentalism thing. Over the weekend, I've been really focusing in on it and just seeing what they do, how they basically persuade people, how they read people, and not only that, but how we read ourselves, right? So tying into mental health, Mo said de-stressors and outlets. It's really one of the things that I was thinking about when I was thinking about mental health, and it may not be what most people think about when they think about mental health, but is what stories are you telling yourself? What's in your
Well,
mind about you? What are the things that you convince yourself of that aren't quite right? What are the things that you convince yourself of in your own life that are holding you back, that are actually the true depressors in your life, right? The true stressors in your life. So that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about mental health is what are those stories that we consistently tell ourselves on a daily basis and how do they hinder us? So that those were my thoughts. What were you thinking about?
uh, going along those same lines, actually, and a lot of times, because we are live and because I don't. Right now, my life is kind of just in fray, so I don't have a lot of time to really think about and articulate with crystal clarity some of our discussions. So a lot of our discussions are really on the fly, just kind of just as we go along and flow.
What's up, Mouse?
But yeah, the whole it's interesting that you're digging into this mentalist avenue and going down this lane, just exploring and discovering and uncovering again the art. I'm thinking about the architecture of belief, and
Yep.
then just from a mentalist perspective, I'm thinking about a lot of the information that just manifests and is expressed through our beliefs,
Yep.
also in combination with our emotions and how we feel. And this is so powerful in that from a mentalist perspective, they are hyper aware to the telltale signs, the language of the emotions and of the mind and of our behavior, all of that mixed. and they're able to see at a different level, to discern and pick up at the minute of levels, the things that are taking place that we aren't aware of, and we aren't consciously able to hide or control. So, a couple of points that I guess, kind of got me on the mental wave. We seem to be on the same wave. Is that I started listening to the book Maps of Meaning
Okay.
by by Jordan Peterson, and he talks about, the whole book is surrounded about around the architecture of our beliefs, and how our beliefs are designed, and how we come to the how we come to the conclusion on our beliefs, and the things that we do away with as far as things we don't believe. And he
Right.
talks about his journey, and then he talks about from a very technical. He can get technical as far as psychology and stuff, but he does keep it. He keeps it like mid level, but you could tell he kind of brings it down a notch or two, and he can really talk at another level. But he just talks about when it comes to beliefs, we have to constantly be asking ourselves questions, and
Yes.
it's really not something that we consciously do. It's really taking moments and becoming aware that there are actual other voices that are speaking to you, and
Yep.
there is a real voice. Uh, some call it the ego, others call it by different names, of resistance that stands in your way of optimal achievement. That voice is designed to keep you in a place of complacency, safety, security, and comfort.
Yep.
The other one is designed to keep you progressing and moving forward to more growth, which often requires work, energy, and effort, and a lot of times pain. So really, it comes down to it comes down between the two voices, the dark you and the light you, right? The one that
Yeah,
says, you know
and not
what?
only that, it's the other voices that we're unaware of that constantly feed into us. That's why you have to be very aware of the information that you take in on a daily basis, because the things that you take in, you're not even aware that you're taking it. That's the hard part. That's the difficult part. Is there's so much information that's pumped in your direction. There's so many things that vie for your attention, that slip information in, and you're not even aware of it. And I'm not even talking about subliminal messages or things like that. I'm talking about the very in your face. There's nothing subliminal about it, but you just come across it and you don't even realize the influence that they have in your life.
Yeah, yeah. The blatant, out in the open voice things, uh, primarily in pop culture, and then in current day culture.
Especially
Uh,
now, this season, right?
this
Talking
season,
about voting
yes,
season, right? It's
yes.
tons of information, things that are meant to get you riled up, to get you upset, and sometimes you don't even realize that they're there. You don't realize those things that are manipulating your emotions, that are manipulating your actions, and yeah, it's crazy when you take a step back. And the reason why I was looking at the mentalism people, and I'll post some of the links in the conversation after we finish. But it's just them showing techniques on how information is basically pushed on us. Again, I've talked about this before in Magic, right? When you're told to pick a card, you have a stack of cards. You're told to pick a card, and it's called a force. And what they do, they force the card that they want you to pick, and you don't even realize you've been influenced to pick a certain card. And so it's the same thing that goes on during election season, not even election season, but we talk about it during marketing. We talk about it in a variety of different ways, that these things are forcing us to make a move where we think we have a decision, but we're really not making our own decision. We're making a decision for somebody else, and we're being manipulated, and we're not even aware that the manipulation is taking place, or that it has even occurred. So we have to be very, very careful. That's why, going back to what Jay Kev was saying, is start questioning things, right? I asked a question earlier today. It's like, I can't even remember what the question was. It's like, yeah, why
You
do
said,
you? want to
Why do you
achieve the
want what you
things.
want?
Yeah, why do you want what you want? And most people gave it from the perspective of, I'm trying to do this with my life and all of this kind of stuff. But that's not even the question I was really asking. Is why is it that you want those things? Truthfully, when you start uncovering why it is that you want certain things, it's not even something that you originally thought of for yourself. And that's really what I was getting at, and going back to your thing about asking those questions and things like that, because oftentimes we, going with the governor thing that you were saying, sometimes we have things that keep us in a box in terms of safety, and they don't really help us overachieve. It's the same thing even with our questioning. We stop within certain confines to where we don't start digging even deeper uh, about why we are, this is a recurring theme, so you may have heard us say this before, but we don't really
Ah, yeah.
question why we just care about certain things. It's just we just do, and we don't even know why. And sometimes it's because we've been forced. That information has been forced on us. Those cares have been forced on us. Why do you care about being an American? Forced. Nationalism is marketing. It's local marketing. It's all of these kinds of different things that people think it's their original idea, and that patriotism and all of these little things that creep into our vocabulary. And it's like, why are you a patriot? Why does it even matter to be a patriot? Think about it. We care about the country, but we don't care about our neighbors. It's like, do you really? So it's those things that we have to start uncovering and unpacking to truly ask the question why. Because sometimes your why is even superficial, right? Why am I doing this? You got to go past the superficial, and that's very, very difficult to do. Go ahead, bro.
It it is very difficult to do, but it's also the easiest thing to do. So, and it doesn't require a lot of time, energy, pain, or effort, or thinking to just kind of go with the superficial answer. And one thing about the superficial answer, I was talking with somebody. They were saying that you're just barely comfortable enough,
Yeah.
just slightly above the edge, uh, but you don't reach
What's up, Daniel?
the pinnacle. You don't reach paradox, but you're just slightly, maybe at
Yeah.
poverty, or maybe a little bit above poverty. It's just enough to keep you going to the next day, and that's just where they liked it. That's where the confines of all the different levels of prison construction,
Yep.
like culture likes to keep us, as far as a culture and the masses are concerned. And this is a recurring meme and theme within a lot of our shows. Just because when you start to uncover, discover, and start to traverse these planes of questioning, what it does is it begins to free you uh, to be
Continue.
more creative, to live a life that you'll be more soul satisfied with, versus living one in which somebody has handed you a form or a template, a paradigm that
Yep.
is pleasing to their wallet and not to your wallet, right? So these are things that we have to continually have discussion, talks, encouragement, inspiration surrounding this when it comes to just living your best life now,
Yep.
and leveling up to the next level in whatever shape, form, or fashion that you've deemed necessary when it comes to your life. We always say, and I don't think we can really say it enough. You get one way through this plane of existence, and it behooves us to stay strengthened and encouraged and inspired to really kind of winnow or chisel things back to the bare essence of whichever facet we're talking about, whether it be
Yep.
your health, your wealth, your wallet, your relationships, love, and then also contentment and happiness. These are things that really speak to the core of of meaning of life, and you want to make sure that you're living a meaningful life that first and foremost that you're satisfied with, and that you can show others as far as instilling and nurturing your
Yep.
family to live too, and help hopefully leave a legacy of continuously leveling up versus a legacy of my man J. Kev just couldn't hold it down. So look at this branch. We might have to we might have to prune old Kevy Webby off because he and throw him in the fire because he ain't producing nothing. He's just sitting there. Dude is depressing the whole family tree. This dude, we gotta do something about this. We gonna have to have a family intervention. I don't know what we're gonna have to do. We gonna have to snap this brother. We gonna have to do something with this brother, right? So, so you want to live? My that's really my approach, or where I come from a lot is that I hate headaches, and I hate seeing other people with headaches, because one thing I've learned is when you live, no man or woman is an island. When
That's
you
right.
really understand that, then it behooves me to make sure that everybody's eating good, everybody's happy and healthy, because when that happens, everybody's cool.
Yeah,
But because
it really it just takes the stress away from life, and we don't even think about it in those terms. Uh, Again, I was watching a lot of video today, just getting just understanding different people's mindsets and those things like that. And there were some things that really stood out to me while I was watching those videos. Is one, um, going back to what you're saying, healthy and happy, and he was just the one of the guys mentioned he was like sometimes we just have to be willing to concede. And he said,
yeah,
because in the long run, a lot of the stuff that we fight over, that we care about, doesn't even matter. It's like,
man,
hey, it's like, conflict and all of that. It's like, you know what? Go ahead, man. Just have it. It's all good.
that,
It don't
that
matter.
speaks to that I was getting ready. I was gearing myself up for that type of experience earlier, but it didn't happen because
Yeah.
I had, but because of what was going on and stuff, I was gearing myself up because I was like, because at first I was like, nah, I'm planting. It's just I'm not moving. And I
Yeah.
was like, why? Who cares?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
just
You
let it.
start thinking, and again, it goes back to the why do you think the way you do? Why does it matter? Right? I think about the conversation we had with was it Kevin Mack? You dude Kevin Mack. I think that's his name. I might be messing his name up. But anyway, he was talking about the conflict he was about to face when he was in Dallas. And it was a bunch of dudes, he was like he could have handled the
Zach.
yeah, Zach, I'm sorry, Zach Atkins. And he said, he could have handled the situation, but he was like, you know what? It doesn't even matter. He's like, I could wipe beat bop these dudes. I got guns, got martial arts background. He said, but what's the point? And sometimes we have to get past ourselves because it made me think of the gentleman who was confronting a father and a son that had the rifles, and he was upset, and he just wouldn't let it go, and it ultimately cost him his life. But it was like, was it even worth it? At the end of the day, it really wasn't, right? And so we start thinking about these things, thinking about our egos, thinking about the
Yes.
conversations that go on in our head, and sometimes it's the things that we tell ourselves unknowingly that keeps us and suppresses us, that makes us not achieve the best of who we are. I was telling my wife again, it was something else I was looking at. I was like, how can it was a guy. He was at the he lost his family in terms of he became an alcoholic, hit ground zero where his life was obliterated. He went from just being at the most low to where this guy's running 300-mile races in 2 days
Wow.
because he was like, you know what? He just started understanding that it was his own stories that he was telling himself that was keeping him down, and he just changed it. I mean, it was as simple as like, you know what? I'm gonna change me. And so we have to, because I'm again based on the conversation we had with Takia, and what went on with her. Because think about it, she came to the realization that I don't want to leave this behind for my daughter, and she changed instantly. Her mindset changed instantly. And what I'm trying to figure out is like, okay, how can I unlock my own mindset as well as unlock those of the people that listen to us and that watch us? Because again, it doesn't have to be as difficult as we make it to be in terms of going from point A to point B, because it's all up here, the mental chemistry that we have in our heads, the stories that we tell ourselves that's stopping us from becoming the people we should be. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna die. Nobody's gonna remember you. Eventually, you'll just fade in history. You won't, your great grandchildren may not know your name, or maybe they will, but your great 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 grandchildren, they may even know your name, but they won't know who you are, right? And so it's those kinds of things, and it's like, we have to be mindful. I say we because I think about this for myself all the time, of the kinds of
Yeah.
things that we involve ourselves in, the kinds of stories that we tell ourselves that hamper us, that hinder us, and that make us insignificant to ourselves. Right now, I'm not worried about anybody else, but don't become insignificant to yourself, to where you're
Yes.
telling yourself all of these things about you, that I'm not worthy, I can't do anything, I'm not smart enough, is whatever. There's all kinds of negative self-talk that we tell ourselves on a consistent and daily basis that we have to start breaking. We have to start breaking those cycles. Yeah, I was thinking of the song "Break Every Chain." We got to start breaking those mental cycles that bound us, because it's really nobody else that's doing it. It's like these things are put out there and they're pushed out there, but it's up to us to receive it in. And and,
Yes.
and once we start recognizing these triggers, whether it be from self-talk or whether it be from information that's being pushed our way, we have to understand how to combat them and how to combat them effectively. So when I think about mental health and all of these things, that's where my mind goes. It goes in terms of how can we become the best version of ourselves, and it's an ongoing thing. I'm not saying that you do it overnight, but those you see it happen throughout the world where people like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm fed up with being this lowly, terrible individual, and I'm gonna change my life for the better, and nothing's gonna stop me, and they accomplish it.
They
So
accomplish it.
so what's stopping us?
Well, that I think that's a great question, and each and every one of us has to deal with that question on an individual
Yep.
and quiet time in the corner. We got to go put ourselves in the corner, facing the wall, nose up against the wall, and say, "Hey, we're gonna have a conversation here. I don't know how it's gonna go, but we're gonna make sure that this conversation happens." The only thing that we can do in a public forum is continuously have conversation, plant seeds,
Yep.
and just be mindful that there are better alternative ways of living and thinking and being in this world. You can go counter culture, and there are buku of people out there who have, like you said, snapped out of and have dropped out of the popular way of living to find a more so satisfactory way of living that is healthy, wealthy, loving, and all the good stuff. As you was talking, and then I was thinking about the previous conversations that we had with Kevin Vane and Takia,
Yep.
in that we've been on this plane for a while, and it's kind of pushed me to really like, okay, how far can you chisel things back in my personal environment, and
Yep.
then also in other areas of my life that's really just gonna bring things to crystal clarity and really bring to the forefront the things that you really hold, quote unquote, you say you hold as a high priority. So just over the course, I guess, the last couple of weeks since we've been really like on this in my personal life, it's like every other day I've been tossing stuff out of here, taking stuff out, and I'm just like, I guess I'm not doing the shocking approach.
The shock and awe.
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I'm not. I'm not doing the shotgun. I'm doing more of let's just ease a toe in, get a foot in. Let's carry this out, kind of, kind of deal. And I think Miss Vanessa Braxton was on. She's like, "Yeah, we call that spring and fall cleaning. I don't know what y'all call this minimalism stuff, but hey, if you want to call it spring and fall cleaning, we can call it that too. Not only do you do your house, but you do your inward house too, your inward man or woman, and kind of winnow and clean out and detoxify and gear yourself up to stay strengthened and strong and restore and have high quality. life, meaning that your relationships are solid and people are laughing and people are connecting, being intimate, and that your health is strong. I get health questions from time to time, and that a lot. Sometimes people be like, "Hey, let's meet up at the gym," and I show up at the gym like, "Hey, what's going on?" That it happens to all of us. Even I do it, but just when it comes to your health, relationships, when it comes to your wallet, I have to constantly be looking at, uh, is this luxury, this moment of luxury, going to be worth it in the long run or no? And then looking at, um, is what I'm doing, is the way I'm living, is that something I'm going to be happy with if I get hit by a train
Yep.
the next hour or so? Because like you pointed out poignantly, Takia's traumatic event of, what if I did die right now? I don't want the thoughts that I'm having now. I do not want them to be the last thoughts before crossing over. So, what are the last thoughts before crossing over that you would like to have? Um, on occasion, I do get to, still hear that story where the old man or a woman actually get to lay in bed and they get to sit there and wait till everybody shows up and then pass on.
Yep. I've,
That's the
I've seen it.
goal.
I've witnessed it firsthand. So yeah, I've definitely seen that firsthand. And again, it's, I don't know. Just thinking about the current life that we're in, thinking about the state that we're in. Again, it's this. All of it's this. And if we don't cultivate this, if we, and sometimes that means abstaining from entertainment, abstaining from things that satiate us in a temporary way, that quick sugar rush as opposed to that, sustained energy. We need to focus on us, and because in the long run we'll be better people, and you'll have a better quality of life. And that life, you'll figure out what that best quality of life for you truly is. And that's a question I don't think enough of us ask ourselves. I've seen it in my family personally, people that just go along with life and they've never stopped what they were doing. They never stopped the cycles that they were in. They never stopped to even consider the cycles they were in. And you've seen it. I've seen it play out over the 40 years I've been alive. And it's like, and they're no longer here. And, so it's those kinds of things that make me pause, that make me hesitate, and make me reflect upon the current life that I have and how I can make this better, right? Let's see.
My
It
Hold up.
was
Mal
Toya.
said, "But I need coffee." Hey, we did. You don't have to give up
Yeah,
coffee, but there may be something else that may have to
yeah.
go. I don't
Maybe
know.
she's feeling the call, and she brought it up herself, so that's something that she's feeling. See, Toya said, I had to choose not to be a victim of childhood trauma and break a system that was passed from my great grandmother, grandmother, and mother. The choice has been mind blowing and forever life changing for myself, beyond beneficial for my daughter. Yeah, and it's
I'm
those
loving
kinds of
that. Yeah.
things. Because again, think of how many people go through traumas and don't even analyze the traumas that they're living in. They don't even analyze the why. It was the same thing when I talked about marriage for me and my wife. I was like, you know what? The cycles I see in my family are not going to happen to me. And I was dead set on that. I was dead set, and and my wife and I were just talking before we came on live about why we do certain things we do. And I was telling her I used to study this stuff years before I even knew that I was going to get married. I literally studied this stuff, and it was because I saw the effects that it had in my family, in the generations before me, and ironically, yeah, I ain't even gonna go there, but yeah, I just saw a lot of this stuff play out in the generations before me that I knew that I would never do myself, because I have witnessed a whole lot of different things in life, things that I never want my children to ever witness, and so I've set our household up to be a certain way to where they don't have to witness those things. They don't have to uh, be privy to the certain ills of the world, and that's something that I'll do to the day I die. And so again, it's like taking those breaks, and there's other breaks that we need to take. That's just one example of it, right? There's so many other things that we can break chains off of our current existence, right?
Well,
So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just saying what you just said, you gave a paradigm on how to go about that. You talked about preparation
Yeah,
and being watchful and observant of some of the negative things that came before you, and some of the learning the lessons of examples from others versus having to go through all these lessons yourself. And then you talked about being you know self-educating yourself before you go through the process versus getting in it and like, oh, I think I need to learn some things here, right?
yep, yep,
So you really hit on it, and then also consciously making that in your self-education process, you made the determination that you had the mindset, you cultivated the
yep.
mindset of no matter what, this is how it's going to work out in my life, and I'm going to design and architect my life in a fashion to where I can live a certain plane of existence where a lot of people don't live because they did not take the time, put in the effort to learn how and employ some basic principles, strategies, and tactics to where in that invisible pyramid that we all are in, right? The invisible pyramid. Uh, there's some people who make it to the 9 to 5 bank, and there's some people who are always rushing to
Yep.
get to the 9 to 5 bank hours. So
Yeah,
it's like, where are
it's
you at
funny
on
you
the
mentioned that.
pyramid?
I had a conversation about somebody about those hours, those banking hours. Yeah, I literally
Really?
had a conversation about that yesterday, and we were just talking
Mm,
about it from the standpoint of things you don't know. Uh, and again, it ties into what we're talking about. Breaking
the mindset.
mental, yeah, mindset, and the things that I didn't know going in. And the more things that I accumulate, the more things I try to teach and hit people the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I was just telling the individual, uh, actually, about the thing about off hours, being able to control the hours that you work or the hours that you can do things is very beneficial because off hours is where the magic happens. And I was explaining it from the standpoint of this is a little insight for all of you all. I was like, when I have spots, like when Lamar and I, when we have spots around town that we go to, those spots are different for us as opposed to the general consumer because we go during off hours, meaning that the staff is not rushed, it's not overcrowded. So then you're more likely to meet the managers, the owners, and everybody in between. So you get different partiality as opposed to if you showed up during regular hours, right?
That's
Yeah,
so true.
and it's true. Like we have a certain Asian restaurant that we go to. Then when we go, they know to give us certain types of food that you don't get normally because we go in off hours and we have conversations, right? Even the example of us being at the Capitol off hours, we were the only ones taking the tour. So, yeah, so that's what led us to the opportunity for us to get, you know, taken around a private tour at K State by the president because we were there at off hours. We got to meet somebody we didn't meet before, right? If it was crowded, then those opportunities wouldn't exist. So that's another thing about when you start looking beyond the veil, piercing the veil of the norms, and understanding that those norms are cultivated by other people. And I'm not talking about individualism here. I'm talking about cultivated
Right.
societal norms that are put in place to keep you in a certain spot. Then you start seeing that there are other alternatives that you may have never imagined, right?
There
And
are,
these
yes.
alternatives exist in a variety of different ways. And it's like, oh, I wasn't aware of this. Now that I'm aware, I can tell other people about it. Because again, going back to the example of the bank hours, I was like, why do banks close when everybody gets off of work? But guess what? Being there in off hours, I understand why. I understand that the bank is open for those that have a lot of money.
Bank is
They
open.
don't have problems getting there doing bank. That doesn't exist for them. Those problems don't exist like it exists for the rest of us, right? And so you start seeing this like, okay, there's an alternative world here, as aside from when you're stuck in the grind of a system, when you're stuck in the hamster wheel of life, so to speak, you don't really get a chance to notice things around you as much But when you start taking time out, taking a step back, and noticing things around you, then you start to understand the things that influence you. You start to understand the things that start manipulating you years ago that you were unaware of. That's why Kevin as well. We watch a lot of documentaries. We read a lot of different books because we start understanding that, hey, this stuff is, I'm seeing this stuff play out in real life, and this is why it's doing it. I didn't know that before. My family wasn't privy to it. Other people have families that know a lot of this stuff. I
Oh,
wasn't
they're
fortunate enough to know. And so
oh yeah.
the more I start accumulating game, so to speak, then the more I try to pass it on to talk to other people that may have noticed the same thing. So that's all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was just going to comment that, yeah, the more you read, the more you avail yourself to information, then you start, like you said, getting hip to the game. And it's like, oh, there are other cultures, there are other people that's been teaching this and passing this on
Yes,
for centuries. And it's like, oh, I'm just now getting hip, like you
exactly. Yeah.
said. So I need to, like you said, as I get information, hey, y'all, this is what's going on.
Yeah,
Because,
and that's how you accelerate the
right?
learning of others, right? And again, it's all of it, but the key thing behind all of that is cultivating a mindset of improvement. If you don't have a mindset set on improvement, then it doesn't even matter. You can tell somebody
Mm,
beneficial things all day and they won't care. So you have to start cultivating a mindset of improving or getting better. And again, you're competing against yourself in a sense. I just want to
yeah.
be better than the version of me that was here a few minutes ago, and so on and so forth.
Hmm. Wow. Did you read Toya Winster's comments talking about
No,
spring cleaning is a
no, read it.
necessity? When my toddler's not shining and I'm not acting or thinking as I should, we go back to the basics. No social media, outside influences, etc. Quality time, conversation, um,
Meditation is big.
meditation, silence, just being.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Man, yeah.
And what's funny, Toya, I'm kind of doing the same thing, but not to the extent of, because I know a lot of people like, man, yeah, I don't see you online as much. And truthfully, I only come online as often as I need to, with the show, cultivating, conversating with you guys, because when I listen to constant chatter, it stifles my personal creativity. So I tend to back away during certain time. I set times that, okay, I'm going to be social, I'm going to be active, I'm going to get into the conversation of other people. But the more time I spend in that space, the less time I spend doing. So for me and my personal makeup, I know that I can only spend so much time in a certain space, because if I'm doing that, then I'm not creating, because those things stifle my personal creative process. So I make sure that I back
Hey,
away
Chase.
sometimes, just so I can get clarity of mind, so I can
What's up,
properly work.
James?
What's up, Chase? What's going on, bro?
Yeah, yeah, man. You really hit on it. Like in like manner, I have to make sure that I keep on tight reins my participation when it comes to social media. I know it appears that we're on here a lot. Sometimes somebody be like, "Man, you need to get off them Facebooks." you you always on them Facebooks, man. It's always too much on there. You always talking about land on them Facebooks.
These are the
You
kind
okay,
of people
Facebook?
Kevin talks to.
And my comment is, hey, you can always scroll past on the timeline. You can always block
Yeah.
me,
Like, how you
unfriend
know
me.
I'm on?
When we come on, it's always kind of random, even though.
Yeah.
So yeah, so guys, you be catching me when I'm on. But anyway, uh, yeah, I do take the time to make sure that I cultivate a lot of quiet time, and it's really early in the morning. We talk about in past shows the importance of having either a late night routine or early morning afternoon routine. For me, it's early morning when the house is quiet and I'm able to kind of like sit down and do some clear thinking before before going out and getting into the chatter and the voices and
Yep.
the energy of a work day. So just going back to where we started, mental health and mindset, and then doing whatever is necessary to make sure you stay strong and resilient, making sure your guards are up, your
Yep.
filters are up, and this will help you maneuver through the channels, maneuver through the waters of life, progressing inch by inch, whatever it is, wave by wave, leveling up by leveling up to the design destination that you want to reach or attain to. It's not to say it's going to be easy. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have hurdles. You're going to have setbacks, major setbacks.
But such is
You're
life.
going to. That's
You're
just
gonna have you're gonna have
way.
challenges and setbacks whether you try or not. So you might as well have
You might
setbacks
as well
while you're
try.
trying.
That sound like some what's his name, Blue Green Man from Star Wars would say.
Oh, Yoda.
Yoda. Try not, try do. Either way, you're gonna get screwed. I don't know.
Don't try not, try do.
Yeah.
I would make
But
it
just
into a joke.
remember, either way, Uncle Sam's gonna find a way to screw you. No, I was kidding. Just kidding. Just joking.
But
All
yeah,
right.
man, I think it's a good stopping point. We appreciate everybody for stopping by tonight as usual. We don't take it for granted that you watch us, that you listen to us, that you participate. More importantly, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We pray that you level up and figure out ways to crack your own personal code and unlocking your mind
Yes.
to its fullest potential. I know I'll practice this daily as well as my man Jay Kev, and as we start discovering things together, we'll keep sharing and doing what we're doing.
Okay, so I think I'll try my jokes at the next
Hey, go for it.
open.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, go
Because
for
the best thing for you to do, like in all honesty, when it comes to telling jokes and getting out there, go out there and get your first bomb, because you're gonna bomb. Yeah, it's almost inevitable. You're gonna bomb,
it.
and the reason because most people won't know who you are, so they won't. That
Oh, they say
there's
you
no
were for fame.
context,
They
there's
just
no inside jokes. So you will, but again, it's to help toughen you, it's to help make you improve. You may do well, but you won't know until you do it. So